Morning world. So, forgiveness. Can you forgive? What's the nature of it? Why can we do it and why not? Who deserves forgiveness and who doesn't? So, this topic comes up a lot when you're engaged in some kind of process of, I don't know what you want to call it, like working on yourself, or you get these terms these days like shadow work, ego deflation, basically like trying to, you can even call it self-improvement or all of that stuff. I mean, and there's a lot of that now, a lot of that going on, all with good reason, I suppose, good purpose. What's it mean, working on yourself? Okay, so when people are, so it's not just like improvement, oh, I want to enhance my muscle size or educate myself or anything like that. It's what I'm referring to, some people might know as when people start to look at themselves really and see, oh, maybe I need to change something. I may have done something wrong, or I'm doing something wrong and there's problems, or problems in relationships, or maybe there's problems in my addictions or attachments to things or substances, or it could be people actually unhappy with themselves, coming from that point of view. Anyway, I mean, there's various pathways into it, but people working on amending or improving some aspect of themselves, so what that involves is generally it's like doing an inventory on the self really. So it's looking inside and seeing, okay, how am I made up? How have I been made? Why do I do the things I do? So it's like there's analysis in there, and obviously this opens up the door to all of the fields of psychology and psychotherapy and various spiritual practice. Okay, so whoops, nearly fell there. In more ways than one. So what this means is you have to start getting honest. If you're going to do an inventory on yourself, you're going to start looking at how you've been made and the actions you've been doing and the behaviours. Then it's like holding up that mirror. You have to see what's going on. As I say, you have to get honest. You can't leave nothing out. If you want to change, really, you have to be truthful. And it's a process that can involve lots of pain as you witness or come across your negative sides, your downsides, your harmful actions, your failings, whatever. But hopefully, if the process goes well, this is like ego work or shadow work for beginners, then all is great. You come through the pain, give yourself some forgiveness, and all is well. Now, obviously, those doing that or engaged in it will know how funny that is to say it like that. But what it involves is eventually somewhere on that journey is forgiveness, or not, as it may seem. This is a stumbling block along the path to growth and change, is forgiveness or not. Sometimes it's hard to forgive, but what's always necessary for it, always, and forgiveness and therefore growth and change can't happen unless there's accountability, which is where the honesty comes in. This way, come on. So this is the process for the self, and there's this relationship between blame, judgment, accountability and forgiveness and honesty. Now we look at the way we do that towards other people. We look at your approach to forgiveness with others. This isn't a video about, oh, we should forgive everyone, by the way. It's not that at all. It's about where is it appropriate and where not, because it's not always appropriate. And just the same as for ourselves as it is with other people, it relies on an accountability from the other side, from the wrongdoer. It relies on an honesty. Now obviously what you've got is a world where people are manipulating that in order to receive the forgiveness or get off the hook. And like, you know, people take it to the extreme. They throw their hands up, oh yeah, you know, I'm such a terrible person. You know, I'm terrible. You know, I'm bad. I've done it. Hold my hands up, and then hopefully the forgiveness comes along, and that's what happens a lot of the time. So obviously people build up a suspicion around that, because people know that other people can manipulate and say and do all kinds of wonderful things to get themselves out of a tricky scenario. And so we have the response to it, which is, yes, suspicion. There's all kinds of dynamics going on, but it's if this process is ever to work, I mean, what does it take for you to forgive? Some people say nothing. Well, that's interesting. How do we move on then? How do we change? Do we just man the forts, put up the defence and that's it, protect ourselves and forgive anyone, don't accept or understand that wrongdoing is possible and change is possible? You know, but then how far do we go? Because obviously people don't like being taken the piss out of. No one wants to be seen as a mug. No one wants to be seen as a soft touch, because eventually comes back to harm ourselves and our own trust. But this thing of accountability comes into it. Now, there's no way of knowing for sure, but for me it seems that if there's true accountability and people haven't blagged it, then, you know, forgiveness is possible. But yeah, maybe inspect your attitude towards forgiveness, accountability, and I wonder how that changes if you are engaged in, as I said at the beginning, some kind of self-work. And if you're doing, I'd put this out there, if you're doing, because I see this all the time, people saying they're doing work on themselves, and they know this term, shadow work and the ego and all that. They say that, but doesn't appear to be any less of a blaming or judgmental or critical attitude or response towards their adversities or people doing and saying things that they don't like. So I just wondered about that. Now surely if you're doing that self-work and you've held the mirror up and you've had to go through that painful process of forgiveness of self and non-judgment of self, how that can't be then the orientation towards others and their actions. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd love to hear from people, see what you think about that. But for today, I'm going to get back in amongst the trees